You're watching Real Simple News on Sunday, May 17th. I am your host, Cale McCullough, captain of the Kabuki Starship. And today's top story, the WHO finally, after 5 months, does a coordinated meeting with everyone. This is the World Health Organization that's supposed to be the authority on world health, the one that we're giving $400 million per year. Quote, $400 million per year. The organization that used to be the propaganda mouthpiece for the war on drugs that would put out fake research papers about how marijuana is a gateway drug and it's dangerous, which of course we know is totally, completely BS because pot's nearly legal in almost every state now. I'm in Oregon. It is completely legal. And there's some effects of it, but it's, less dangerous than alcohol. So what is this story here? It's from NPR News. It says quote unquote, unprecedented WHO assembly. Hold on. Sorry, I messed up. The World Health Organization's annual oversight convention will be held by teleconference meeting today as the worst pandemic in modern history continues around the globe. Modern history the 73rd annual World Health Assembly typically brings together representatives from the WHO's 194 member states in Geneva to discuss a wide range of health topics. However, this year's meeting will be held by teleconference for the first time ever. It will be much more focused on the novel coronavirus that infected more than 4.5 million people, killed 300,000, crashed the global economy, and shows no sign of going away on its own. And it's here to stay. Dude, the media wants to hype this stuff up because, honestly, they got budget cuts going on right now. They got massive layoffs going on in the media sector. And, they're just regurgitating the same shit over and over again, man. It's just like the flu, okay? Why is this virus so dangerous? It's because we don't have immunity to it, all right? You get it once or twice. It's just like the flu then. After that, it's like people get coronaviruses. It's not really actually that dangerous of a virus. The thing about coronavirus that makes it so dangerous is it's not really that dangerous. And that means it can spread like SARS and MERS were really dangerous. And then they would burn themselves out very quickly. This one isn't quite as dangerous. So therefore it is able to spread around faster. That's the key about this thing. But the key here is that the WHO 5 months later is finally doing an internet conference, right? We've got $400 million that we just gave them this year, right? And they're finally getting on top of a teleconference, right? This is why the WHO is bad and it needs to go away. They're wasting our money because they're a huge, massive bureaucracy. And it took them this long to have a teleconference meeting with they're supposed to be the World Health Authority, right? And then it takes them 5 months in order to do a teleconference meeting with everybody. Come on, dude. How many Zoom meetings have there been recently? Everybody doing Zoom is all right. This is totally not a good fast response. My corporate, we've already done 12 Zoom meetings just with my group of people alone since then. Some people are doing 2 or 3 Zoom meetings a day, dude. And then they finally got one going on here. They're wasting our money. Okay, $400 million per year can build a lot of bridges and roads. They can fund a lot of kids getting educations that can then generate a lot more tax revenue and then pay for it itself. And then we can then donate money to a smaller organization. Here's the other thing about this, that it's totally idiotic. And this is the problem with post World War II European liberalism and everything. They just created all these organizations that were great, at the time, the NATO and the UN. Well, I'm not knocking NATO, or sometimes the UN's good. The majority of times, it's just what the hell does the UN exactly do? that governments shouldn't be doing themselves. Like, it's kind of like, you know, like somebody who lives with their parents, like that their parents clean up after them. It's like they never learn how to do it themselves, right? You got to clean up your own mess. So the what about the other thing about the WHO is that with the universities, like, is there a single source that's like the world authority on universities? Is there a single world source that's like the apex corporation that like controls all the other, like coordinates all the other corporations out there? Like, who are the people who is actually doing the stuff to like save us from coronavirus, right? It's the corporations and the people that run the hospitals, which are corporations of people. They're groups of people. They're not just like one person. That's the key. It's not just one person that does it. This is why the WHO is bunk whack. If we are independently, we're going to be able to have a much better, faster response to any sort of world health emergency just by ourselves. And then when we're relying on other countries, for other organizations, other governments for our response, what we're going to get is chaos. Fundamentally, that's what we're going to end up with. And that's what we did end up with here, was chaos, because the Americans followed suit with the Europeans, which they typically freak out about stuff, which is what liberals do. They want to help people, and they're good-hearted people, and bless their heart, they're trying to do good. But then once you start giving these people control, they don't give it back. Right? It's like, you can see this going on all around in the United States government, where once we've ceded power to these tyrants, like these democratic governments that are having all these lockdowns, unconstitutional lockdowns, and like they're the places that are having the coronavirus outbreaks, and it's because they locked down and everybody's indoors and they're in close quarters, and whenever you cough, it stays in the air for 8 minutes. Where if you were like outside, out and about, milling about like you normally would, then you would not be in such close contact. This is why people don't get sick as much in the summertime, because there are more often times they're outside and then there's more sunlight. So this makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of news stories. So let's get on to the next story. All right. Next story here from the, if you're wondering why the audio sounds so much better, I got the, I'm not a shill here, but the Isotope Elements plugin. They have this really awesome RX voice denoise, and they have a bunch of good stuff, like the maximizer. I'm just using a maximizer. Sorry, I like it. It makes the audio nice and loud, and you don't have to do anything. But here, what's this next story? It's from the New York Post. It says shoplifters wore watermelons on their head while robbing Virginia store. And this, a lot of people are actually using medical masks to rob stores, like because, well, for obvious reasons, they cover your face pretty good and everybody's using them, so it's not really suspicious, right? But I thought this one wasn't particularly different. The article says, when it came to disguises, they kept an open mind. A pair of shoplifters wore hollowed out watermelons on their head while stealing from a convenience store in Virginia. Police said surveillance cameras caught the CD characters roaming around, pun intended on that, Schlitz's store around 9:30 p.m. on May 6th, which was my birthday, by the way, if you care. Wearing the watermelons with cut out eye holes as masks. It's a new one. Next story from the New York Post. At least 100,000 cruise ship crew members still stuck at sea. Wow. That's like a city. I've heard these people are having a really good time on these cruise ships because, just look at that. Honestly,
dude, if you're going to be sitting around in quarantine on something, dude, I absolutely would not mind sitting around on that boat for like some number of months. I bet they're getting hella drunk. I bet there's all kinds of hot chicks and everybody's like, yeah, we don't care about Corona unless it's a beer and I want it. If anybody wants to take me on a cruise, I'm down. I'm single, and I haven't had a girlfriend in long enough that you don't need to be that good looking. You just have to pay for the cruise because I don't have any money for it. Next article here is from Newsweek. It says Donald Trump introduces super duper missile at unveiling of Space Force's flag. Here is the Space Force flag. I think that's great. You know, a lot of these things that Donald Trump says, at first you're like, that sounds so stupid, dude. How could you even say that? And this is like what's going wrong with all these liberals who are like outraged about everything. Like they get upset when you say something like when you like go against their dogma on coronavirus. They're like, how could you do that? You know, there's like people that could die if you go out and talk to people and you don't what you're wearing a mask. Oh my God, how could you do that? What about the children? And I mean, most of these fears are just completely, absolutely unwarranted because our body is in contact with like so many different viruses that at one point in time were way more deadly than coronavirus. And then currently now they are like just a part of us. Like what's that one that gives you cervical cancer? The one of those herpes viruses. You know, there's all kinds of those things. Like you can get cancer and die from kissing a woman. Those girls they're just like got all kinds of diseases and stuff from like kissing people. I don't know. I'm joking. Not really. Just kind of true. But actually, no. Actually, I think what doctors said is that basically that was people just kind of have evolved to get used to it. It's like cold sores. Like whoever, you know, you might get cold sores for a little while at first, but then eventually, you know, they start to become pretty rare and they become a marker that your immune system is compromised, that you basically like you're going to get really sick if you keep going hard, you keep drinking. So it actually becomes beneficial actually at a certain point. This doesn't have anything to do with Space Force. I'm sorry. It's a little bit of a tangent, but it is true. Because I have cold sores and, you know, I might get one like once every couple of years. And whenever I do, I can always tell that my body is just so stressed out. And that's why I'm having an immune reaction. So that's why we shouldn't really worry too much about coronavirus. It is a wonderful opportunity to learn all kinds of stuff about the human immune system. They're learning all kinds of stuff. Like there's a lot of upsides to this coronavirus thing. Like the planet, global warming's loving it. People aren't going out as much, so they're not dying. I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent here. The Space Force flag, though, here Donald Trump introduced. He calls they got the super duper missile. It's the tremendous missile. It's got American flag painted on it, and it says Derpa Derpa on it. But Donald Trump, these things, a lot of times they sound totally stupid, and then they turn out to be true, like such as disinfecting your insides, which the liberals went nuts because CNN started claiming that Donald Trump actually said that you could do that. And when the truth is that Donald Trump actually just asked a doctor, well, this sunlight and these disinfectant things are so good at disinfecting, like, can you just like disinfect your insides? And then they're like, oh my God, he's so stupid. I can't believe that he said that. And then as it turns out, actually, one, there's a treatment for UV light or for ventilators, where you can put UV light in the tube and it kills the bacteria in the contact with the light. And then 2, they're also doing an ammonia treatment. 2. So it sounded stupid at first, right? Turned out it was actually true. This is why I support Donald Trump, and why I actually used to be a flaming liberal. In fact, I even helped start the 2016 Portland anti-Trump protest. So there's no question that I used to be a livid Donald Trump hater. I'm definitely quite a little bit famous for that. I mean, there was a bunch of people that was there, but I was one of the loudest ones. But now I joined the Walkaway campaign, and now that I've learned a little bit more about all the bias that's going on in the liberal media, it's definitely quite aware evidence to me. Sorry, my audio is peaking a little bit. It's definitely peaking. That the media has been being bunk, like giving out fake news, and it's because all these journalists need a paycheck, and people click on these articles, and they put out so much stuff you can't even fact check everything. And so if you look at like NewsGuard is like this thing that it's a plugin that you can get for your browser where they check news sources and it's legit, but you could see there's even bias in that, because a lot of these sources, like you look at like the things that they downvote you on, and a lot of sources that are usually generally legit, like they've marked them as not legit, but then they'll because of some stuff that I don't think it's really fair. They use that rating, but then CNN puts out garbage news all the time. Like they said that Donald Trump actually said you could disinfect your insides, but it turned out to be true. Like Space Force sounded so stupid at first. It absolutely sounded stupid. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then, it turns out Space Force ends up turning out to be a fuck yeah. It turns out to be epic. And also that it turned out to be highly needed, because you could see that the response that the Russians had, it provoked a response. Generally, if your thing's a dud, if it's not really that big of a deal, it doesn't really provoke any sort of response. But that's why they have these public unveilings. They're trying to provoke a response from both the general public and from potential enemies they might have to use the weapons on. So I want to be Captain Kabuki at Space Force, because I am captain of the Kabuki starship. What's this next article here? From Newsweek, it says 63% of religious Americans say coronavirus is a sign from God telling them humanity to change its ways. According to the poll, born-again Protestants were most likely to feel that the coronavirus is a sign from God, with 53% feeling, 43% feeling strongly, while 28% of both mainline Protestants and Catholics felt the same. This stuff's been happening since the dawn of humanity, these plagues. Like, I can't tell you the exact percent, but it's somewhere like along the lines of like maybe 20% or something of our DNA is virus. It was similar to HIV. It was a DNA virus that infected everyone at one point in time. So, like, I mean, this stuff's been happening for a long time, and throughout history, people have generally thought that there was spirits that were at fault. So, it looks like my audio is peaking. I need to basically turn off the plugin here. Let me do that on the mic. I did so. I was hoping that would work, but it looks way too hot to me. It's like peaking. So next article for here from Reuters. U.S. House votes to allow proxy voting during coronavirus crisis. U.S. House of Representatives on Friday approved a historic change to its rules, allowing lawmakers to vote by proxy from remote locations temporarily as they move forward on a vote on a $3 trillion new coronavirus emergency aid package. And what is in this aid package is just absolutely crazy. I think I have another article here that talks about it. Sorry, bear with me. So, like, this next article here from CBS News says Pelosi says time is of the essence to reach a deal on the next round of the coronavirus relief. Oops, got to go into the web browser. It's from CBS News. And it appears to be a video. Sorry, I didn't check that. Sorry, that wasn't the right article. I apologize. Yeah, this was the article. That last one was not it. It's from Forbes Business. It says White House advisor says Democratic stimulus bill is a non-starter because of $1,200 check for illegal immigrants. Nancy Pelosi basically lost me with the package when she said there's a $1,200 check for illegal immigrants. And I know they pay taxes. I know that they aren't a drain on this society. The Latinos took over, but they're not bad neighbors. They're, in the end, there's just people are just going to be half Latino around here. It's just whatever. Right now there's a group of Latinos that are in their own community. But eventually they're just going to, come together with us because they're a lot like us. They're not, it's not like Muslims taking over Europe where they're diametrically opposed. They don't want to integrate because of, they want Sharia law. That was what makes it. What does that have to do with this? Yeah, we're talking about illegal immigrants here. Yeah, the Democrats just want to throw out money. How this bill that they have going on is 1,800 pages. It's $3 trillion, and it did not go through a committee. They did that thing from the two articles prior where they were allowing video remote voting, which I don't understand why they don't have that. I mean, it's not like they're going to fake the vote, right? It doesn't make sense at all for them to not vote. When I go home for Christmas break at school, I'm still working. I'm still actually doing stuff for my projects, for everything. And I'm able to vote I'm able to read during that period of time. In fact, I'm usually kind of bored and I want to do stuff. Yeah, they have to campaign, but it's also beneficial for them to be able to vote while they're on the campaign trail, because it makes it so that they have something that they can talk about that they can gives them talking points. So it's not like a bad thing. I personally think it's kind of crazy that they don't do that, because the reason why we have them vote in person is so that we can ensure that they voted correctly, because back in the day, we didn't have the internet. We couldn't really check that stuff. And there's such a small group of them, you can double check the vote very easily. It's totally not like they can go get a live feed. It's not like they can't do that. This particular situation, it seems like the Democrats were trying to do some shady stuff, as they're always trying to do shady stuff and jam stuff down our throat and blow people's money. It's they're okay with blowing everybody's money because it's not their property. if it was actually them that had to pay this money back, if they actually had to physically pay it back later, they probably wouldn't do that, because a lot of people who are getting these stimulus checks probably don't need it. So like they want to give extra money to people who've been working during this whole time, which is, yeah, they probably deserve, under normal situations, they probably would deserve hazard pay. But let's look at the reality of the situation. Everybody else isn't working, right? Why are they getting extra money when we need more people working? That doesn't make any sense. This is why trying to be fair to everyone is being fair to no one. And this is the fundamental problem with liberalism, or modern day liberalism. Let's not confuse this with classical liberalism, with reasonable, moderate people that are, going to actually vote based upon reason and logic and evidence. These people are wonderful. They are leftists. And so let's call them libs or lefties, right? Let's be clear with our language, who exactly we're talking about here. These people need to stop blowing our money on stuff that we don't really need. Me personally, what I bought with my stimulus money, which actually is just coming in, was cameras for the show. I've been waiting for them. This is why the show hasn't been on for a while. And it's because we have really fancy cameras coming in. And I was like, I don't want to use these other cameras. But that was stupid. I like doing this show. It's great. I do appreciate anybody who's hitting the like and subscribe. I'm not doing this for money. I am doing this for likes and for views, and because other people, nobody else speaks for me. And a lot of times conservative media is a little bit boring, repetitive, same stuff. I even am guilty of saying the same things over and over again sometimes. I don't mean to talk about immigration all the time. It's just, wow, you look at the statistics and it's like, oh, wow. I'm taking too long on this. Hey, what's the next one? Sorry, it is 9:38 at night. I planned to do this show all day, but I'm having problems with the green screen. We were at the Super Duper Missile here. So here's a wild video, shows a Mexican man in a cowboy hat lassoing a loose tiger on public streets. A tiger running loose through a suburb of a Mexican city in Guadalajara was captured after it was lassoed by a man in a cowboy hat. Video footage shows a passing driver filmed the bizarre encounter, and footage was posted on Politico Mexico Twitter account Thursday. The video was captured by a driver. Let's check this one out. Gotta love Mexicans. They are lovely people. Which is why the liberals are kind of crazy, to hate on people. I think people who hate, don't agree with the immigration situation, they call them white supremacists if they're white. But it's like, nah, man. You know who is white supremacists? Latinos. Actually, you can look it up. Don't trust me. Look everything up. Verify. Don't trust, verify. It's true. They're actually white supremacists, and they don't like black people. And they don't, well, hold on, it's not they don't like black people. It's that they want to be Latino and not black. And they actually do discriminate. Oh, let's watch the video here. Sorry, getting on a sidetrack.
Es un tigre. Ahí lo van a agarrar. Ahí se les fue. Dios mío. Pero ¿cómo lo van a agarrar?
Watch this, yeah.
¿No salió de un hocico? No lo sé. Ya se va.
Woo! Damn! That guy's awesome. I mean, that's a story right there. How many people have lassoed a tiger before? There's not a whole lot of people who've actually lassoed tigers before, especially not on the streets of Mexico. This guy's probably the first person in the entire United States or South, North or South America that has actually lassoed a tiger. So let's give it up for that guy. Let's watch that lasso one more time. Here. Here it goes. Woo! Nice shot. Yeah. Luckily, the tiger is not pouncing on him. I'd be pretty scared if that was that tiger. Whoa, what happened? Next article from New York Post. Prosecutors review 50 murder convictions of men allegedly framed by a cop. Chicago prosecutors are reviewing more than 50 murder convictions of mainly Latino men who may have been framed by one detective decades ago. The cases were all handled by now retired Detective Ronaldo Guevardo in 1980 and in the 1980s and 90s. The move by the Cook County attorney could mean a mass exoneration. And the largest, biggest police scandals in U.S. history, BuzzFeed reported. Boy, there's a lot of scandals involving police officers. There's a lot of police officers who've planted false evidence on people. I know I've been arrested falsely on a number of times. Just people get all hyped up and they get aggro and they want to. People are like disrespecting the authority, and so they do stuff that they shouldn't do, which is bunk. What's this next article here is from CBS News. It says judge orders Los Angeles to move thousands of homeless people. The judge issued a preliminary injunction requiring a relocation of an estimated 6,000 to 7,000 people. And they were camping near the freeways and under overpasses and bridges. He gave officials 1 week until May 22nd to come up with a plan for providing humane housing. And why haven't they been doing that? I mean, it would probably be way cheaper to provide them with tiny houses on vacant lots. Maybe even teach them how to build their own tiny houses. Maybe they can move the tiny houses to a house, right? So they learn how to build the tiny house, get some skills, and then they find a place to go park the tiny house, right? Because they could probably do that. And then somebody else could buy the tiny house from them. So let's look at this. Let's talk about the legal aspect about this here. This actually makes sense legally. It really does, because of property rights. Like when somebody is or what do they call it? Squatters' rights, right? So if somebody's been squatting in a house for long enough, then they have right to be in that house for a certain period of time. It's been that way forever. It's part of English common law and just carried with us throughout our history. And like if you have a tenant and he doesn't pay rent, you can't just kick them out. They have squatters' rights. And so these people have been living here under the highway for a certain period of time. So they have squatters' rights here, actually. Right? The government and state property is just like any other property legally. It's if you've been camping out on public property for long enough, they're not allowed to remove you under squatters' rights. So because of that, then they're negligent in their duty to protect these people from getting harmed because they have the ability to do something about it. If you don't have the ability to like help somebody who's squatting on your property, it's just then you can't. But if you have the ability to do something basic to help them, then you have there's some measures of negligence within the system. I'm not an attorney. Don't take any sort of legal advice from me. I have proven time and time again to fail being my own attorney in court. But I do know quite a bit about law, and this does actually comply with the way our legal system works, that the government has the ability. There's a public health safety thing from the people who are living there. So there's somebody at your house that's living at your house and it's causing a public health safety hazard, the court has a right to intervene. So this makes sense. It's crazy that it took them this long to get there, but the reason why is because there's 20 illegal immigrants for every single homeless person. And in California, they're mostly all from Mexico. And 4 out of 5 of these immigrants that are illegal immigrants that are crossing the border are not apprehended. Only 1 in 5 are apprehended by the Border Service. So we've got a problem here. The reason why the homeless people are on the streets is because of the illegal immigrants. I live in Oregon, where when I was a child, there was 8% Latinos. Now it's 24.1% Latinos. Where are these Latinos coming from? Because their birth rate is 1.95 and the replacement birth rate is 2.1. Right? I'm sorry I talk about birth rates. I'm not a white supremacist or anything. Wikipedia says you're a white supremacist, but this is why I talk about it, because that's not true. I'm calling out the bullshit that's on Wikipedia, because when you look at the numbers, right, you're like, wow, you went from 8% to 25% in my lifetime. That's crazy. And it's not like they're bad neighbors. They're like, a lot of them are white supremacists, right? So I'm like going to be up at the top of the pyramid, maybe hooking up with one of these hot Latinas, making one of these people at the top of the Latino pyramid, the white Latino, because they're white supremacists. I'm sorry, I like fucking with them with that because it's so funny. It brings out the hypocrisy, because like a lot of them are hardcore lefties, right? And they're great people. Well, I'm not knocking on them, but wow. They're like now a dominant force in the electoral process. Now, I mean, it's not like they're like causing problems, but they're like, a lot of them are radical lefties, and then there's like white supremacists, and then there's 20 illegal immigrants per homeless person, and then they're pushing transients up into Oregon, Eugene. They're pushing all these people up, and then it jacks up our rent, because all these people from California are moving up. And then who are these people from California? Most of them, a large percentage of them are Latino. Nothing wrong with that. I'll hook up with any hot Latina that will sleep with me. But it is an issue. We do need to actually prioritize the homeless people here before the illegal immigrants. And I'm sure that every single legal Latino immigrant also too agrees with this too. Because once you look at those statistics, you're like, wow, that's jaw-dropping. This is why Wikipedia is bullshit with their article about the Great Replacement. Because first off, it started out with Europe, where there was some white supremacist dude. No, it was a regular conservative guy. It wasn't a white supremacist. This is the thing that's fucked up about it, is that it was a regular conservative guy who said, hey, look, do the math on the birth rates, right? Because if you do the math, like I've done calculus enough to where I can just look at the math and I can just, I know where it's going to go in the calculator because I've seen the graphs before, I know how fast that one's going to go up. But then they said, oh, it's not going to happen. They were saying this isn't going to happen with the Muslims. And basically what they were saying, this guy's saying is like, well, they'll be like a quarter of the population pretty soon. And then they're like, that's white supremacists, because in Europe, they have hate speech laws. But then looking in America, where we had a similar situation, and already in my state, they went from 8% to 25%. So Wikipedia is false on that. They completely are putting out this far left bullshit that's causing a homeless population to just explode, pushing transients doing dope, taking shits in the street, literally banging heroin with fentanyl in it that they're getting in from the Mexican cartel. Mexican cartel is getting these people on the street spun out as fuck on dope, dude. They are. That's why these people are on the street, is because they're on drugs from the Mexican cartel. Where else are the drugs in LA coming from, dude? Oh, they're coming from the Canadians, right? The Russians are bringing in the dope to LA, right? I mean, it happens, right? I'm not saying that the Russians aren't bringing in some really good dope to LA, right? In fact, I got a homeboy. I'm joking. I'm joking. So we got to shore up our border. You know what? Actually, immigration's just like dropped off a cliff. Actually, it's I don't know. Anything that we said about immigration probably isn't going to be true moving forward. I've beaten this horse to death here. Let's move on to the next one. From Reuters News, Trump firing State Department's watchdog may be unlawful, Pelosi says. And hold off on your reaction. This is actually bad. I don't like reading them like that. Sorry. Trump late Friday ousted Inspector General Steve Linovic, the fourth IG he has fired since early April. Wow, fourth IG in the month. Acquittal by the Republican-controlled Senate in his impeachment trial. Quote, the president has the right to fire any federal employee, but the fact is, if it looks like it's in retaliation for something the IG, the Inspector General, was involving, that could be unlawful, Pelosi said on CNA's quote-unquote State of the Union address. Not sure why they put that in quotes. Quote-unquote State of the Union. They've got all these thin-veiled attacks on Donald Trump hidden throughout the mainstream media. This one looks bad. 4 in a month. I personally love the job that Donald Trump's doing. I used to hate Donald Trump, but I actually think he's doing a really good job. And the liberals hate a lot of the stuff that he was doing, and a lot of it sounded stupid at first, like the wall. Wall sounded so stupid at first. Like, why the hell would you need to build a wall? That's just so racist to what, keep the Latinos out? What, the white supremacist Latinos out, right? You're like, no, you can't keep the Latinos out. Wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry. Why are the Latinos complaining about racism against them when it's the black people that get racism against them, right? See, this is why you got to call the Latinos out on it, because you're using this shit. A lot of them are like rad femmes, dude. And they're like, I mean, shit, I'd probably still hook up with a rad femme Latina, but they're using this white supremacy shit against people to try, because they're like, you can't like shore up the border or like stop letting in everybody that they want to let in because they think it's like racism against them. But it's like, wait a minute, who's actually like having a hard time? It's like the black people, right? It's not, the Latinos are not, as a community, they are not doing bad, because people are like, oh yeah, well they're taking less money. Well, and this doesn't have anything to do about the article, but the Latinos are taking less money right now. But that's more money than they were making in Mexico, right? So first off, them making less money right now is better off than where they were before. Second, they are white supremacists, and they will like hook up with the white people, and then they're just like gonna, they're gonna have all this. They see, when you underbid people, you get more contracts. So you're working for less money at first, but then you got a hook on the market. Like people go to them for landscaping services, right? This doesn't have anything to do with this article. Sorry. But this one, so Trump's firing the watchdog. So what exactly is this? It's about the impeachment investigation. It seems to me like there was been a witch hunt going on the entire time. Firing 4 of them is like, okay, what are you trying to cover up here, buddy? Like, I totally support you. And I don't think he's a Russian spy, because that was obviously just some bullshit conspiracy theories that MSNBC was peddling based upon that Steele dossier that turned out to be complete BS. In fact, that thing turned out to be a complete whopper. Although it was kind of fishy that Rosneft did trade some shares, but sorry, but the shares popped back up and they had a good excuse for it. Could have been, we're busted, got to give the money back. But also Steele also could have known that was going to happen, and that he could have actually said whatever, made up a wild tale, and everybody could have just basically just believed him because he had reputability. So I don't know what to say. There obviously has been some deep state stuff going on. I think the IG is appointed by Congress, right? This, reading on in the article says, quote, "We've had tremendous problems with some people call it the deep, quote unquote, deep state, and think that that's apt, so I don't mourn the loss," and quote, Navarro, the director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy, said in an interview on ABC's This Week, quote, "There's a bureaucracy out there, and there's a lot of people in that bureaucracy who think they got elected, not Donald Trump." And quote, Navarro did not offer any evidence to back up his claim. Trump and his allies have long pushed the conspiracy theories that target the what they denounce as the deep state, career civil servants meant to be non-political who say they're working to undermine Trump. And yes, they have been actually working to undermine Trump. The people who, they're goody-goodies. And they're independently, one-on-one, they're all great people. Lovely people. But then they start abusing their power. These are just things that humans do. You can't put it past anybody. You can't. Because anybody, if you put them in the right situation, will steal. Absolutely anyone. It just has to be something that they actually want, that they think that they can get away with stealing, and they have the opportunity, and they probably will. It's good as a person as they say they are. Everybody says, I'm a kind, caring, generous, loving, compassionate person, because these are attributes that you want to give to other people, that in reality, most people actually don't have them, and they're actually using their generosity and their kindness in order to get something that they want in return socially, which might be something that's not worth a lot of money, just like maybe it's just kindness, compassion, loyal, or what am I trying to say? Companionship. Maybe that's what they're after. Maybe they're after likes. Maybe they're after getting settled in a new social circle. But people have motivations. There's nothing wrong with having motivations. 2, in fact, if you don't have any motivations, you're not doing anything with your life. That's fundamentally the thing. But what is this about? So these people are good people. They're just doing really bad things because they were convinced Donald Trump was a Russian asset, because they're getting bad information from other people, and they decided to use their authority to stop what they thought was danger coming. They thought Donald Trump is this authoritarian character, and going back ever since Donald Trump became a public figure, this has never been the case. Like, this is left field for anybody who knows Donald Trump. They're like, what are you talking about, dude? You're on one, dude. Donald, like, dude, you're crazy, dude. You're talking about Donald, dude. Like, the Don. Like, really? Definitely not a Russian asset, dude. It's Donald Trump, dude. Come on, man. Like, he's been American ever since he's born. And then people just want to dog on him because he got money from his parents. Like, I'm not trying to hate on anybody because they're successful, or even if the success was handed to them, because there's a problem with people who always make excuses as to why they should have gotten it, other people shouldn't have, because they are the white knight. They're the one that's deserving of it. And the other person is the bad person. Everybody's a tyrant but me. And that's what's going on. It's just an element of human behavior that's been happening. I don't know what to think about this. I can't trust any sort of evidence that they're going to give me. I'm not even going to continue reading the article because I'm going to wait to see multiple sources, and I'm going to pick through it because I can't trust any of these sources on this. Next article from Reuters. So far, no spike in coronavirus in places reopening, U.S. Health Secretary says. U.S. authorities are not yet seeing spikes in coronavirus cases in places that are reopening, but it says it's still too early to determine such trends. Health Secretary Alex Azar said on Sunday, the government doesn't need to control us to get us to do things to protect ourselves from diseases. People are freaked out. They're walking around with masks on, dude. Like, the masks don't do anything. It just makes you feel good, dude. If you're sick, it might help you prevent other people from getting sick. It's not going to prevent you from getting sick. It's herd mentality. These people are just going nuts, and they're good people. They don't want to hurt anybody else, but you got to watch out for herd mentality, man, because there ain't nobody home. Like there's no lights home. It's not a person. It's like group mass mentality that you can't you can't control it because it just naturally emerges from the group, and there's nobody in control of it. So the government doesn't need us to like have any sort of rules preventing us from making us be 6 feet away at the grocery store. That's crazy. I'm very much so interested in getting germs. In fact, even if she's hot enough, possibly an STD, depending on which one. And if she's hot enough, maybe twice. As long as she lets me put it in her butt. And take pictures. I'm joking. I don't have any STDs. Don't need them. But hey, I'm 38. You know, if it's a wild time and there's a huge plate of cocaine and some pornography, then I'm the star and I'm there, bro. Take me to your hoodie. I'm joking. That was a total joke. Next article from New York Post. White House advisor, CDC let the country down with lack of early coronavirus testing. Yeah, they should have definitely been on top of it. Like, the media is blaming Donald Trump for okay, Donald, look, not everybody can be good at absolutely everything. Like, we need a leader for the time for that particular problem, and no one person is going to be perfect. Like, the Democrats thought that Obama was the saint, the savior. He was Black Jesus, right? Like, this dude was like as saintly as Mother Teresa, dude. And then, as it turns out, he's a little bit more like Mahatma Gandhi, right? Where he's like, oh, great guy, but then in the end, it turned out to be a little bit of a pedo. Right? Which sucks. The dude had such a good thing going on, and then he decided he wanted to perv out at the end of his life, and then ruin his reputation. Like, what's that dude's name? Been in the Jeffrey Epstein. Next article from Newsweek says residents blast LA County for initiative of sheltering homeless people in nearby hotels during pandemic, which is absolutely crazy. I don't want to rent that room. I mean, yeah, if it's empty for 5 days afterwards, right? Sure. But so you got to make all these hotel rooms empty now after that for 5 days or something, 6 days a week to let the stuff on the surfaces die before we can rent it out. Like, this is crazy, dude. They need to put them up in, they need to teach these people how to build their own small, tiny house. Let them camp out on government property where they have showers and access to medical stuff so they can get on their feet. And then if they can find a place to rent, to move the tiny house, then they can go move the tiny house to that house. And then we're done with them. And then they can start paying taxes, and then we'll get the money back for the tiny house. And we'll teach them skills. We'll get them off the streets. See, this is a great idea. The tiny houses are the solution to homelessness. Aside from kicking out actually, the solution is to kick out the 20 illegal immigrants per homeless person, because they're not supposed to be here. Unless, of course, they're hot chicks. But then we kick out all the dudes, right? It's just like at a party. Like when you're at a party, dude, right? You take all the chicks and then you kick out all the dudes so you can hook up with the chicks, right? See, the correct way to deal with immigration is from thinking of it from the perspective of a penis on an older dude who most of the women who are of breeding age won't sleep with them anymore. I'm joking. It doesn't have too much to do with this other than the 20 illegal immigrants per homeless person. That is a staggering ratio. 20. Just think about that. Every single time you see a homeless person downtown, just think about 20 illegal immigrants behind them. And then that's the ratio. And you're like, you can't say anything about them taking over the state because it's white supremacy. Is like, dude, that's shocking. Like, that's a crazy ratio of people. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk about it. I need more material. If you have any good material, please send it to me. Next article from Newsweek. China will nuke, quote unquote, nuke bomb Apple with endless investigations in retaliation for Hawaii penalties, state media says. You definitely can't trust the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP is as whack as it gets. And I own a startup not doing so well. With my startup, I don't really feel bad because I'm not going bankrupt in this depression here that we're in. But, I know I would be targeted for everything that I've said on YouTube about the CCP. You can't trust the CCP. They are brutal, savage, murdering thugs who terrorize their own population. They keep Muslims in concentration camps, right? This is crazy. And you're not allowed to talk shit about them because that's white supremacy. But guess what? Chinese people don't like black people. They also are two Chinese supremacists. Because it turns out every group of people, you go to Hawaii, they don't like outsiders there, right? And they like people from Eugene. They liked me in Hawaii. I got along with the natives very well because I can sit around the campfire and hang with everybody all night. But China, yeah, dude, it's dangerous to work in China. I just don't care. I shouldn't talk so much smack about the Europeans, but I'm sorry, man. These fruitcake liberals in Europe are a little bit, they don't understand. They're like, whoa, why do you care so much about freedom of speech? They're like, oh, there's so many other freedoms that you have. Why do you care about hate speech? Like, I don't particularly endorse, I don't engage in hate speech. I do criticize immigration, but I don't, that's not hate speech. But they want to use, it's like the secondary effects that you get that weren't intended. It's like the fraud from the criminal who's committing identity fraud on you. They're like, oh, I had no idea that you could actually use that in order to commit that horrible of a crime. That's the problem. This is what the Europeans don't understand, is that it's a slippery slope. And then it gets used. It ends up getting used because for institutions, they're like, they don't have any sort of soul. They're like, They're not human. Like there's no like person in charge. They're just like events that happen. A lot of it's based on money. And so what? That's the problem with the CCP. It's just like this same problem with the CCP. It's a soulless entity. It's like this corporation that just doesn't die, controlled by these people that are like obsessed with control. And they're saying, oh, we're just trying to help you out because there's so many people and you have to give up your rights because it's in your best interest. And it turns out to be a slippery slope. It ends up turning out to be, okay, well, currently right now, like it's in Europe, it's mostly Europeans and they're peaceful. But then who's coming in? You got all these Muslims that are coming in and they're like lower class, they're permanent underclass. And then eventually they're going to start, having conflicts because there are going to be so many of them that eventually they're going to have enough power to where that they can start a massive war. They could start World War III, some holy jihad, like on what we've seen in Syria on steroids all throughout Europe because there's so many people there. That can happen to us. And it's happening too in China because they got massive pockets of Muslims and the Chinese don't want the Muslims to take over because populations that are growing, like nobody wants to have their local native population get taken out. You go to Hawaii and you ask people there whether or not they want all of these tourists and everybody else to come and take over their island. They're going to say, fuck you, Howie. That's what they're going to say. That's every group of people is the exact same way, but white people aren't allowed to do anything about it because that's white supremacy. What does that have to do with this? The Chinese are really bad, but they're going to retaliate. There's nothing that we could do other than buffer ourselves and prepare for a possible war with them because it could happen. They could do that. They have like 3 million Muslims in concentration camps there. Like crazy number of Muslims, which is horrible. And then India also too is having these huge pockets of Muslim migrants. And then they got the Hindu nationalists over there that they're also too are saying are like Nazis, which is also too not true. And it just so happens their initials are RSS, but that's not the same as RSS commentary. RSS news is what we're reading here, like this type of news. What am I saying? Yeah, stay out of China. I'd say cut your connections. We got to make it ourselves, but you know what? You got a huge market. If you want to cut China off, man, everybody in Europe and in America is going to be like, all right, I got some cash. Y'all buy right now. Right? So right now, it's all about made in America. It's all about American supremacy right now because America should be supreme because we've done a hell of a good job. People like to shame us for being racist, but in the reality of the situation is that people aren't really racist here in the United States. People will like to say that you're racist if you say anything critical about what the liberals are doing, but in reality, this is actually just a shame tactic. They are, in fact, actually thinking that you're immoral. That's what they think, and it's because they don't understand that morals are just things that piss people off and motivate people to do things. It's essentially what morals are. If you think about everything that like people say, oh, you're an immoral person, that's bad. And like, why are they saying you're an immoral person? Because what you did pissed them off. They thought that was bad. People shouldn't do that. But not everybody thinks like that. Around the world, not everybody thinks like that. Different groups of people, different cultures, different things piss them off. And what was I talking about? I don't know, dude. So, it's not like immoral to do a lot of things that people think are immoral. It's actually just what you're used to that pisses you off. In general, you should not piss off the natives. You shouldn't. What's this next article here from Reuters? Georgia rally for slain black driver or jogger, quote unquote jogger. Why are they still calling this dude a jogger? He's a trespasser. For removing district attorneys, prosecutors on Sunday demanded the removal of 2 district attorneys accused of dragging their feet and arresting 2 white men suspected in the shooting death of a young black jogger in the Brunswick, Georgia area. Why do they keep calling this dude a jogger, dude? This dude was caught on security camera trespassing multiple times. They want to portray this dude as a jogger, but in reality, he was not an innocent jogger. He was actually, this had been multiple times that he trespassing. These people saw him on their security camera. One of them's an ex-cop. One of them's ex-cop. He works with the cops a lot. He helps them bust people. I don't know what to tell you what happened. You're guilty. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. But what it sounds like from this situation is that these people protested. It's like Black Lives Matter, man. These people are idiots, dude. They're saying the cops are racist, and look at the rates of black on white crime in the United States. I can pull it out. Let's pull out the chart. I'm not trying to shame black people. Look, statistics are just statistics. They're about the activity on the edges of the spectrum. That it's not the general broad public. If somebody criticizes you, it doesn't mean they hate you. Let's go. I'm almost there. Just bear with me for one moment while I find the correct image. Oh, come on. View. Woo. Damn. Okay, apparently I can't. All right. I can't because I deleted my Twitter account because I was focusing I don't know, I couldn't stop ranting about immigration. I don't know. Not really that big of a deal. No, it is. People shouldn't discount that. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't show you the thing. But violent crime from black on white violent crime is significantly higher than white on black crime. It's the murder rate's 5 times higher. As in 5 times as many black people kill white people as white people kill black people. The aggravated assault rate is 200 times black people assaulting white people as opposed to the rate of white people assaulting black people. I'm not trying to shame them because this is activity at the edge of the spectrum. Of course, this does not represent good-natured black people. They're lovely. But what was I saying about this article? But these people, these Black Lives Matter people are making these cops look out to be horrible, right? But then you look at the statistics of what the black people are doing and they're violent as AF. And then there's a whole bunch of violent AF white dudes in there with them, right? Because there's all kinds of crazy white dudes that like hip hop, dude, and they're obsessed with black people and they're violent as fuck. They'll beat people up. This is just hip hop culture. It's street culture. It came from poverty. It didn't come from Africa. It came from the streets. So let's call it what it is. Let's stop with this whole demonization of the police. They really are putting their necks out there. If they weren't getting a paycheck, they wouldn't do it. And some people are oh, then you're only doing it for money. That shows how you act. No. There's no way in hell anybody would do that shit without a paycheck, dude. You're fuck no, dude. Hold on. No, actually, there's probably crews of people that would do it with our neighborhood watch. But they're probably not the people that we want to work as police officers, right? So the ones, you got to take the good with the bad. But in general, police officers are doing a lovely, commendable job. And they do deserve respect. They don't deserve hate. They don't deserve disrespect. They deserve love. They deserve support. They deserve to be backed up. And Blue Lives Matter. But you just got to see the mentality of these people, because they want to say, oh, it's these white people that are bad. They killed the black dude because white people are bad. And like, dude, the murder rates on black on white, black people killing white people 5 times higher, dude. 5 times higher. So this whole notion here is BS. This is more example of the mainstream media radicalizing people. Oh, I ran it too long. I'm just going to keep going because I'm having fun. Next article here from New York Post. Trump slams radical left giants of social media. President Trump, here, let me go into it. President Trump, the king of memes, slammed the giants of social media Saturday in a tweet that was a shot across the bow of Google, which may soon face a federal antitrust lawsuit. Quote, the radical left is total command and control of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, and Trump, end quote, Trump tweeted, quote, the administration is working out remedy this illegal situation. And so what is he talking about? He's talking about how the social media companies are basically controlling the narrative because they're extreme lefties. They're in the ivory towers. They're in Silicon Valley, where people are taking shits on the street and banging heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamines, you name it. Dude, they're doing every drug underneath the streets. They're defecating right in plain sight on almost every single block down there. They got 20 illegal immigrants coming out. So you got one person taking shit on the sidewalk, and you got like 20 illegal, you got 20 hold on, it's 90%, 20 illegal immigrants, and 90% of them are from Mexico. You got 18 Mexicans out behind this dude taking a shit on the streets, banging dope from the Mexican cartel, right? And these people are like, oh, no, you can't be a racist because we need immigrants because these companies are controlled by globalists. They're controlled by international people like who are immigrants, who are wealthy, the most wealthy, privileged people in our society. And they're saying, no, you guys are racist against me. I'm the somehow they're the victim. The highly skilled engineers getting discriminated against because the Americans who didn't get the same head start as them in the school, they didn't have the same opportunities. They also too want these opportunities, and they're upset that all the foreigners are getting these opportunities, but our children are not getting these opportunities. And then they say, then this is the problem: is that the people who are in control of these corporations, a lot of them, they're rad femmes, dude. Like, I'm a computer programmer, dude. And I have been attacked by these people for saying moderately conservative things, like just general run-of-the-mill, like mainstream conservative things. Like, I have been attacked. I have been trolled for weeks on end. Hold on. No, just days on end by particular people, but weeks on end for one particular incident. And then they blame me. But I get these people out of my feed. This stuff was happening regularly for years and years and years. And it's not just them. It's also the hippies and the rave kids, all these people on this spiritual shit, all these women who are like working good jobs and saying that men just can't take a woman who's got a good career like me because they're like, something's wrong with them. Like, no, actually, there's something wrong with you, woman. Like, there's something wrong with you. Like, that's not the way that people usually act, right? So these people have been enforcing their thing. Oh, wait, let me continue what I said. I get these people, these programmers out of my feed, and I just surround myself with conservatives. And guess what? Nobody says anything. The only person to say anything critical of me was a white immigrant from Europe who got a H-1B visa here. Right. And then he was saying, because I was criticizing how the immigrants are taking our jobs and how you can't trust them to work in the natives' best interest. He was like, that's white supremacist. Is like, but the dude's white. Right? Like, wait a minute, hold on. You're shaming me as a white supremacist here, but you're white. This doesn't make any sense, right? It's like, I mean, yeah, we need highly skilled people from other countries, but like the way that it's working is that the corporations want to replace the white people because they want more diversity. But the problem here is that 76 point some odd % of America is white. So when you do that, you're attacking the general public of America, and you're making it so that our people, Native Americans, American natives, people who are actually native to America, we are now disadvantaged, and that the people who have the biggest advantage, the immigrants who can work for just a little bit less money because the corporations want to hire them over everybody else because they can save some money. So it's wise to drop your rates and to not try to make so much money, because people in the end, you should be doing these bids where you can do a per contract basis, where you can like change the number, you can drop it down if you need to drop it down. You shouldn't be set. It shouldn't be like, oh, it's always going up. Sometimes your pay has to go down in order for you to make more money. It's like you have to sell the product for cheaper in order to make more money, because you can reach more customers, and then you're going to have more regular customers who come back because you have that price. It's the same thing with immigration. With all these people have an advantage over us, and we're not allowed to say anything about it. We're not. Like, I've been called a white supremacist so many times, I can't even count. And I'm in Eugene, where it's ultra lib, and the ultra lib people stop hanging out with me, and like some of the only people that'll talk with me are the black people. There's hardly any black people. But what are they saying? They're shutting down our free speech. You can't. They think any sort of criticism is hate speech, right? Like what I said, that's hate speech. In Europe, that's called hate speech, and they have all these immigrants from Europe, and they bring their radical European politics here to America, and they shove them down your throat because they are the bosses. They are the highly skilled labor, and they are the ones that are now controlling whether or not you get a job, whether or not you're accepted into the university. That's the problem. That's fundamentally the problem with this, is that the natives need to be in control. The Americans need to be in control. And these social media companies shouldn't be abusing the law. Okay, so let's get back to the article. And what is this about? So there's an antitrust thing going on with Google, because Google has their AdWords thing, and they've been suppressing the competition. And since there's only one of them, they're like the main search engine. It's going into antitrust land. Definitely. It was bound to happen. Been saying that they're bound to happen for a long time. Then you also have this problem where they're engaging in unlimited speech that nobody else can engage in, right? So they're using this. They're saying it's like the same thing with the Citizens United case, where people are they're saying that money is speech, because in Citizens United, if you're not familiar, you should go to Wikipedia. It's Citizens United. And what this was they were trying to make a movie about Hillary Clinton, and they put in too much money on the movie, and they got like an FEC violation. And then the FEC said, or the Supreme Court said, that money was free speech because people, they need to be able to make movies, right? And like the movie, to make a movie would have been like whatever one person can contribute. It would have been way more than that. It wouldn't be possible for them to make that movie. So it's a very interesting case. It's very technical, the law and how it goes into how it was basically gave them a blank check for them to have unlimited campaign contributions. And the reason why this needs to be readdressed by the court, because this Citizens United ruling does not take into account the way that our law works. So it's saying you have unlimited speech to make video content to distribute them. This is not true. You do not have unlimited free speech in America with videos. For one example here, you have a time limit on how much you can advertise to children. In the U.S., it's something like 20%. And there's some great videos about how Jake Paul, the YouTuber, has been breaking YouTube or violation of all kinds of laws in how much he's been marketing his merch to children, because there's laws that prevent you from doing that, because you're only allowed to put so much in, because the people are easy to manipulate. This is the key word, that children are very impressionable, and that they're easy to manipulate, and they're easy to fool, and it's easy to get them to nag their parents to go spend money. And so this is why Citizens United is not legal. This is why there is a cap on how much you can put in, because nobody else has the ability to do that speech. So like one group of people making a movie is one thing, but then a massive group of people here using this Citizens United to commit basically election fraud, to be able to dump billions of dollars of dark money into elections that can come from foreign entities, and it does come from foreign entities. And these corporations like CNN, they all have foreign shareholders. They're not all U.S. interest. Not at all. Like BBC, obviously not U.S. interest, right? NPR, controlled by the government, technically. But so these people have way more speech. So Citizens United, this one group of people making this movie called Citizens United, that's a very small amount of speech. So if they were allowed to do that, that's a very small thing. It's like one video, like there's thousands, probably millions of videos out by now. So that's inconsequential, right? But these media outlets have the ability to put impressions on children, two, it has the ability to force people to change the way other people are voting. So when the media, when fake news, CNN puts out all these stories trying to attack Donald Trump because people click on it because they're trying to generate money, and this works to get them to click into these predictable sales funnels. This is not the same thing as Citizens United making a movie. Like when CNN decides they're going to go on a tirade against President Donald Trump, nobody else has that access to that. Like Citizens United, the group Citizens United, does not have that much speech. That absolutely nowhere near that much speech. Like, dude, they're like dwarfed. You're talking about one drop of sand compared to a beach here. And that's the problem with Citizens United, is that fundamentally it is completely illegal. It allows dark money contributions from foreign entities. It allows organizations like CNN to just run roughshod over our election process. To like CNN is in control of like all these debates and like who gets to be on stage, and they put out fake news attacking the president, putting out fake conspiracy theories attacking the president. That's not normal speech. Speech is not unlimited. I don't have unlimited speech. I can't yell fire in a crowded theater. I can't. There's limitations to speech because that massive corporations are not people. They're not human beings. They were not who the Constitution is primarily there to serve. The Constitution is to serve the people, the physical people. Entities are just anybody in a court can be part of a court proceeding. You can sue a chair. You can bring a chair. You can bring your laptop and put your laptop as a party in your court case. It's possible to do these things. That does not make your laptop a person that has constitutional rights, right? Right? Your laptop does not have constitutional rights. You have constitutional rights to your laptop because you're a human, you're a person. But a corporation does not have a right to yell fire in a crowded theater. They don't. They don't. Even if it was a chair, if your chair was hazardous to the public, then your chair does not have unlimited right to be there. Likewise, corporation has the ability to create mass panic, like CNN. A corporation like CNN that has access to that many viewers has the ability to create mass panic, has the ability to get people targeted for assassinations. It can make conspiracy theories go wild, make some, like the QAnon thing goes a little bit overboard with the whole pedos in control of like, I think they're going a little on one when they're talking about the pedo things. I think there's always going to be a certain number of perverts, dude. They're just going to be there. That does not mean that they're like pedos in control. That just means that there's this X percentage of people are going to perv out, like Mahatma Gandhi, right? He was a great guy, lovely guy, and then he perved out, right? Jeffrey Epstein was an awesome dude. It's outside of the whole Lolita thing, right? Like he outside of that, he was awesome. But then there was that thing, and then he fucked up. And in reality, when you look at the situation, like how people react to it, like in person, at the time, people might want to beat you up. They might want to kick you out. But over time, people aren't going to like hate on you. So it's like in the media, they'll have a certain reaction because it's like immoral, right? Like I was talking earlier about with the morals, they're like what piss people off. And then it's because they get a reaction and they're able to basically control the narrative. And that makes it so they're not like Citizens United. They're not. CNN shouldn't be picking sides on the elections. I am tired, though. Here, I'm going to leave. Here's the last one. Here, we're going to leave off with an article from Newsweek. It says, Farmer Bro Martin Shirelli plea for early release from prison to help develop COVID-19 cure rejected by District Judge Kyoto Matsuomi said the 37-year-old's self-described altruistic intentions, end quote, don't provide a legal basis to grant an early release. I would agree with that. I do think that prisoners should have access to computers. He should be able to work in jail. He should. I don't think that they should be barred from being able to participate online just because you're in jail. Does not mean that you should be prevented from earning money. Like there's no reason why, like you being in jail is like, there's nothing in the Constitution or any of these laws saying that you can't be like using computers when you're in jail. It just says you're in jail. You got to work for the good of people. Like if you're in jail, if the person's in jail, if they're working on the computer and they're doing good stuff, they should just continue to do that. And especially if they can get money so that whenever they get out, if they can make millions of dollars while they're in jail, yeah, why not? I don't see that doesn't seem to me like, they can make the millions of dollars outside of the jail. So it doesn't seem like a punishment. It seems like you're punishing everybody else when you're doing that. This Martin Shkreli guy, he gets a lot of hate. I personally think that he's a good guy. I don't know. This is based upon the limited YouTube videos of his that I've watched. I just think that he's like a chill guy. But I think anybody can be a tyrant or a monster. If you don't think that you can be a tyrant or a monster, you're lying to yourself. You're deceiving yourself. Just understand that's just a part of human nature. It could happen to anybody. Okay? But with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for watching Real Simple News with Cale McCullough on May 17th. And let's see, this was an hour and a half, so I went a little bit long. Sorry about all the ramblings, a little bit sidetracked there. But until next time, sayonara, aloha, farewell, peace be